And that's how easy it is to go ahead and pre-build that map and be able to just click a couple of files and load all of that data.
Stick around and we'll get right to it. Real quick before we get going, I've got to give a shout out to these guys. They're my latest patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, I'll leave a link to Patreon down in the description below.
If you're supporting some sort of an event, maybe it's a bike race, maybe it's a parade, maybe it's something else, and you want to utilize APRS, what you might want to consider is going ahead and pre-building a map that you can quickly and easily load during the event. Today, I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly how to do that. Let's go ahead and jump over to the computer and get started. Okay, so let's start by creating our first object, and we're going to use this little area right here just to give you guys a quick reference of what's going on the map. This is the campus here in Middle Tennessee, and then this is roughly the parade route. But this right here is the check-in, so that's the first thing I want to put on the map. I'm going to do a right-click right here and say Create Object. Now, when that box opens up, we want to just put the name of our file here, so I'm going to put check-in. I don't like to leave any spaces in these names. We do want to make sure that the object is active, and for the time being, we're going to set this as private. Now, real quick, let me tell you what these three options are. You've got private first, which means this object will only appear on your map loaded right here locally. If you choose the local option, then it will not only populate on your map, but it will also go out over RF. And finally, if you choose the global option here, it will be on your map locally. It'll go out over RF, and it will also be gated to the internet. So you can kind of control this in any fashion that you want. But right now, we're just setting this up so that we can load everything very quickly on the day of the event. Now, for the symbol here, I'm just going to use red dots since this is just marking a location. So we'll come down here and choose the dot. And then finally, I'll just get rid of this wide 11, wide 21. I only want this to go out over wide 1-1. So it'll go through the digipeater, be digipeated one time, and that will be the end of it. The rest of this we can leave setting pretty much just like it is. If you did want to add a comment, you could do that here. So we could just put parade check-in and leave that as the comment. We'll just go ahead and click OK. Now, let me go ahead and create. I'm going to actually do a total of 4 here, so let me get my others created really fast. And as you can see on the map, I have created 4 different objects. We've got check-in right here, we've got the staging area, we've got the command post marked, and we've got the TV crew marked on the map. So those are the only 4 that I'm going to do for this particular video. Now, once you get these created, what you want to do is you want to come right up here to File. Let's come down to Save, and let's save Objects and Items. Once this screen populates, I'm going to save these on my desktop just so it's easy for me to find, but you could choose whichever path you wanted to save it. Then we just need to give the file a name, and I'm going to call this parade-objects. Be sure that you leave this box over here unchecked. You don't want to save every single station as a new object. We only want to save the objects that we've created for our map. So leave that one unsaved. And let's just click OK now that we've named our file. And that takes care of creating and saving all of our objects. Now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and draw out the parade route on the map so that I've got a visual reference on the day of. We'll do that by coming up to the View menu item and come down to where it says Draw Toolbar. Let's go ahead and click on that. And that will open up this little dialog box down here in the very end. So I'm going to choose the line that will allow me to draw lines on the map. And then I'm going to start right here roughly at the staging area, and I'm just going to click on the map to place this route. If the road curves, you'll need to add a couple of extra clicks in there just to make sure that your line is following along on the road as it should. But give me just a second here and I'll have this one drawn out. And that's good enough for this video. Now, after your last click, you'll see this other line following you around. Don't worry about it. Just come all the way back down to that draw menu, and let's go ahead and click on the arrow. That will leave us just with the route that we have just created. The next thing we want to do is come over here to the Save button and click on Save. Again, I'm going to be saving this to my desktop. Let's give it a name. We'll call this one Parade Route. And then right here, I'm going to click CSV longitude / latitude. I found a little bug, or at least I think it's a bug, inside of YAAC. It really doesn't matter which one of those you click. It seems like this version, which is beta 191, always saves it as a longitude / latitude file, even when you choose the other one. So maybe we can point that out to Andrew and he can get that corrected in the application. Once you've chosen this, you give it a name. Let's just go ahead and click OK right here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just close YAAC, and then I'm going to reopen it. That way we will have a fresh screen running, and it'll be just like the day of the event. Now, I'm going to assume that you've already got your Digipeater and all configured. Today, mine is configured. I am running Direwolf with this particular setup. I'm using the 705 for the radio, and during this video, I'm using an off frequency of 145.075. That way, I don't put anything out over the main APRS frequency while we're doing this tutorial. Let's go ahead and go back into YAAC now. We'll get this radio view out of the way. The first thing I want to do is load the route. So we'll come up to the File menu, we'll come down to Load, and we'll come down to Drawing. You'll get the Open dialog box. Let's go ahead and navigate to the desktop since that's where we stored our file. And we need to set the filter down here to CSV longitude / latitude. That should populate your CSV file right here into this box. Let's highlight it. You can change the color, the width, the line stroke, all of that to your liking. I'm going to leave mine at the default and go ahead and click OK. And you'll see that it just drew out our parade map. Now we need to go ahead and load those objects. For that, we'll come up and choose File, Load, Objects, and Items. Again, we're going to navigate to the desktop. That's where we saved our file, and you'll see that file that we saved is parade-objects.pos. Now, this is where you want to take a look and make sure that this is set out, or these are set to the way you want them. For this particular video, I'm going to set this to local so it will go out over RF, but not be gated to the internet. And you want to put a check mark right here by Enable Objects for Transmit. Once you've got that set up, we can just go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice that all of our objects immediately loaded into the map. Now let's go over and take a look at Direwolf, and you'll see that, let's see, there's the first one that went out right there. We've got oh, I'm sorry, that is not the first one. That's actually a beacon from this particular station. Here's the first one that went out. That's Parade Staging. And it takes them a couple of minutes. They'll cycle through each of those. You can see another one coming in right there. That gives you the TV crew object that just went out over RF. And then the others will go as well. You'll also be able to see those now on any APRS enabled radio, or you could give this information over to whoever you're working with for the event. And if you're putting this out over the iGate and putting it to the internet as well, they could pull all of this information up by just navigating to aprs.fi and zooming into the area that you're working. And that's how easy it is to go ahead and pre-build that map and be able to just click a couple of files and load all of that data into YAAC. If you found today's information helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up before you head off. We will see you guys on the next one. Until then, 973.